Hey guys, happy Thursday. Yes, Thursday, baby Friday, as we call it around here. Welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up on the show today, the latest surrounding that horrific shooting in Minneapolis that took the lives of 2 children and injured many more. We've got the latest. Hey, we're talking Crackle Barrel, in this case, remix. You know, that old logo that they turned to the new logo and then went back to the old logo. I'm confused, you're confused, but we'll clear up all that confusion. And then comedian DC's own Earthquake going to join us right here on the Live Zone, share a few laughs, and tell us all about his brand new Netflix special. All that and more coming up on the show today. But first, how about we talk weather, shall we? Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the Live Zone.
And Guy, I don't even know why I come and do the weather.
Why?
I've made so much money in my tip jar in the last couple of days.
I'm sure it's been picture perfect.
They say you can never have enough of a good thing, but in my case, I don't know what to do with it all.
Well, real quick, I could have swore I heard something about your birthday coming up in the near future.
Oh, next week, yes.
Okay.
I told everybody on air earlier that we're going to do like a slow build up to it.
Okay.
So you got a little time.
All
We'll
right.
do some shopping.
I'm the week after, so.
Virgo.
All the way,
Can we
baby.
do a special on Virgos?
We'll do it.
We're amazing, right?
Aren't we?
Yeah, and we're very good looking.
Thank you very much.
The best part is they can't respond. So if they can, we can't hear them, so that makes it better. 71 in Washington. Guess what? We're going to have another beautiful afternoon. And I'm in debt, so I'm going to work forever.
Oh, gosh. All right.
Yeah.
Keep on working.
Yeah, you can tip me, and it won't even put a dent in it. Dew point 53 with very comfortable conditions. Do have a little cloudiness first half of the day, but you can see it if you look carefully at your satellite, and I insist you do, that it's all lifting off to the north and east, and we'll mostly be out of here by 2, 3 o'clock. So the trend will be to get more and more sunshine building in, and it'll be a nice afternoon. And most importantly, a dry afternoon, and temperature-wise, very pleasant. Low 80s expected, low humidity, with more nice weather to look forward to as we get into A, our zip trip tomorrow, and then B, of course, our big holiday weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday all look fantastic. Okay, we do have lurking there. Notice north and west, a little ribbon of rain showers. That is a cold front.
Ah.
That's going to reinforce the beautiful weather around here for the weekend, but it will come through tomorrow, and we will have some clouds for our day on Friday, and maybe 1 or 2 of us can squeeze a shower out of that. Let's hope we do, because if we don't squeeze a shower out of that, Guy, we are going to go down with the driest August in history.
Really?
That will be your test, yes. Only 0.2 of an inch of rain officially at Reagan National. Been a very dry month, and we'll keep that streak going. So that's this afternoon. Low 80s, we can take it. Our average high is 86. You can see we can keep it cooler than that right through the weekend. Some clouds for your Friday, and then we will clear it out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all various levels of perfect and amazing and early fall feel with comfortable temperatures and, most importantly, comfortable humidity. So great weekend.
That might be the best 7 days in a row I've seen you actually put up there, Tucker.
Yeah, that's what I told you. I'm like, bills
Typical,
keep coming.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Tucker Barnes, all things weather, right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, download the Fox Local app and take that amazing forecast with you on the go. Well, we start this hour with the latest on the deadly shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. Last night, mourners gathered to hold vigils for the victims, honoring the lives lost. The shooter, identified as 23-year-old Robert Westwin, opened fire with a rifle during morning mass at a Catholic school. 2 children were killed and 17 others were injured. Police say Westman was a former student of the school and was armed with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol. He fired through the side windows towards kids sitting in pews. He then took his own life.
It was very scary. It was like my friend got shot in the back. He's in the hospital right now. And then my friend Victor, he was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit.
Police say all of the injured victims are expected to survive. The FBI now investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime. President Trump ordered flags to be flown at half-staff until sunset on Sunday. We, of course, will continue to follow this developing story on air and online. Now to a Fox 5 News alert back here at home. New results are in from President Trump's D.C. takeover, and the numbers show that crime is down dramatically. Yesterday, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser met with the president just days after his comments that she had to, quote, get her act together. In the last 21 days, the combined efforts of D.C. police and federal officers have resulted in a real reduction in crime. Still, D.C. residents have conflicted feelings about the way it's being done.
I felt way safer 4 months ago than I'd have the last week or two. Yeah, just the fact that we're seeing these roving gangs of like random federal troops. Some of them have masks. They aren't always marking the cars they're in. That's not safe.
The concern for people is you walking down the street minding your business, and all of a sudden a DEA, FBI, or one of those people come up to you like, I need to search your pockets or something. It's stupid. I don't like it.
It's a lot safer. I can go anywhere I please. I don't have to worry about anything, any killing, shooting, robbing. So I love it. I love it. Hope it continues. Don't know what's going to happen when it's over. Not looking forward to it being over, but I love it.
Mayor Bowser did say that she will soon issue an executive order to make sure that task force resources continue to be strategically deployed in the nation's capital. Switching gears to national politics this afternoon, gun control back on the minds of many following yesterday's shooting. Meanwhile, Kilmar Abrego Garcia now claiming asylum for a second time. However, the Trump administration says, wait a minute, not so fast. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Andrea Kaye, political strategist and host of the Andrea Kaye Show back here on the Live Zone. Happy Thursday, Andrea.
Happy Friday Eve, Guy.
All right, let's jump right into it. In this case, we'll kick off the Democrats now renewing calls for gun control after the Minnesota school shooting. In the meantime, or shall I say the immediate aftermath of yesterday's shooting, Republican leaders in Congress have shown no signs of opening a push for new gun measures next week when lawmakers return from their August recess. What do you think is going to happen with this?
Well, I have to put on my hat here, my crystal ball hat, and try to predict the future. Oh, more of the same, which is we're going to continue to have more school shootings as the Democrats continue to refuse to accept the fact, the truth. They want to lie to the American people and mislead the American people that there is an additional piece of gun control legislation that could have saved one of these children's lives. It's outrageous. They always do this. As bodies lay bleeding, they go to the microphones and blame the Second Amendment when the reality is they continue to deny safety measures that could save lives. In fact, Tim Walz was sent a letter from somebody 2 years ago after the shooting at a Catholic school in Tennessee by another trans shooter and said, please do something to harden our schools to protect our children. And Democrats are always against every measure that would actually save a life. Since Sandy Hook, Parkland, Uvalde, they don't want to harden schools. They don't want to arm any teachers. They don't want to provide any armed security at the schools. No, they want to leave our children as sitting ducks so that they can try to push more gun control measures that would never save a life. They can never tell you what one additional piece of gun control legislation would have prevented this. In fact, cities where we have the greatest amount of gun control, we have the greatest number of deaths. Like in Chicago, 6 people died this weekend. In shootings, 20 more people were killed. It's insane, the lies coming out of the Democrats related to gun control. I'm sorry, Guy, for getting very emotional, but we need to stop children from dying, and pushing gun control is a lie.
Yeah, well, it's pulling at the heartstrings of so many Americans, Andrea. I don't blame you for being emotional, quite honestly. We expect the same thing coming out of the White House once again when we have a White House press briefing get underway at about 1 p.m., and we'll cover that live right here on the Live Zone. Let's bring it back to Washington, D.C., or a little closer to home, as we should say, where experts now estimate National Guard deployment in D.C., get this, Andrea, costing some $1 million a day. Now, when taking into account the pay for more than 2,000 National Guard troops deployed, housing, travel, food, fuel, and other logistical needs, the question remains, is all of this really worth it?
Well, I think it is, since the number one role of the government is to protect us. Red lights, green lights, keep us safe on the streets. Our goal as a government, our role as a government is not supposed to be funding transgenderism, coloring books around the world, and all the waste and fraud that we see going on in our government. It's supposed to be to protect us. Meanwhile, we've had all these movements for years of defund the police, attacks on police officers, lies like hands up, don't shoot, that has resulted in police forces being down by 600,000 officers, 25% in the DC area. You add in then insane policies like no cash bail, like out here in California, where you don't get prosecuted if you steal up to $1,000 worth of stuff. And we've had crime waves across this country. And President Trump decided to bring some common sense to assert the actual role of the government, which is to protect the citizens. And we see the results. Carjackings are down over 80%, robberies down 46% in DC. And for any citizen out there acting as though, I saw in the piece leading up to me, that they feel less safe because the National Guard is on the streets. That just seems to be a little disingenuous. And there was the one woman who's claimed that the National Guard is going around demanding that they search people's pockets. Show me the video of that, because that's just more lies about our law enforcement officers. And oh, by the way, the role of the National Guard is to support local law enforcement, which is why Governor Hochul brought them in to patrol the subways in New York City.
We're going to take it from D.C. to the state of Maryland, where Kilmar Abrego Garcia now claiming asylum in the U.S. for not the first time, but as you know, Andrea, for a second time. In 2019, an immigration judge said he was unlikely to get asylum because you are required to request it within a year of arriving in the United States illegally. But now his lawyers argue his situation has changed and he should be allowed to remain right here in the U.S. I have a feeling you're going to disagree with this one.
Well, yeah. Now, look, I'm not a comma JD. I'm not a lawyer, let alone an immigration lawyer, but I do have common sense. And this is a man, by the way, I disagree with the Trump administration bringing him back in the first place from El Salvador. He was out of this country. Why bring him back? He was brought back in order to be prosecuted for the fact that he had been arrested in connection with human trafficking in this country. This is also the guy that had been credibly accused by his wife of beating her. And that's who these attorneys are trying to keep in this country. This is just such a losing proposition for the Democrats. They need to stop. And there was some group of Democrats wearing pink vests chanting, Kilmar's our neighbor, keep your Trump, you can't have him. Look, this is not a winning issue for the Democrats to stand behind this guy, to put him out there as though he's the poster child of anything for the Democrats and anti-Trump. It's going to backfire against them if they continue.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see yet again if the White House has something to say about all of this. We should hear from them in about 50 minutes right here on the Live Zone. We've been joined by Andrea Kaye from the Andrea Kaye Show. Folks who want to get a chance to check out your show, Andrea, how could they go about to do so?
Just go to AndreaKayeShow.com and you'll find all the details there. And Guy, thanks for having me today. And continued prayers. And yes, we do need to pray for the families of those at the Catholic school in Encino in Minneapolis.
Very much so. We'll speak with you soon, Andrea. Well, a man was arrested for setting fire to an American flag in a federal park outside the White House just hours after President Trump signed an executive order seeking to crack down on those who burned the flag. That executive order directed the Attorney General to prosecute cases where individuals desecrate the flag by identifying state and local laws that they may have violated. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Matt Cavedon. He is the Robert Poole Fellow in Law and Religion at Emory University Center for the Study of Law and Religion. Matt, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. I'm actually at the Cato Institute now as the director of our project on criminal justice.
I stand corrected. Thank you so very much for that correction. I'm curious, with regard to everything that we've seen surrounding the executive order, do you think that, in essence, this will be used to incite exception of the First Amendment?
It's hard to tell exactly how this is going to be implemented so far. The president's executive order says that the Department of Justice should seek to prosecute to the maximum any acts involving flag desecration. That could include burning. It also is going to depend a lot on what individual law enforcement officers and then prosecutors decide is disrespectful to the flag. Could it include having, as we've seen in past cases, an American flag patch on your jeans? Could it involve other sorts of less serious things? Potentially so. We do know that the U.S. Supreme Court now twice has ruled specifically that desecrating an American flag is part of freedom of speech. Yes, it is an emotionally loaded topic. That is precisely why it is an act that people sometimes do engage in. I don't like that act. I mean, just look over my shoulder,
Sure.
right? I don't like that act. I have reverence for our flag. But I also have reverence for the freedom for which it stands. And that includes the freedom to say no to things that even most of us think are super important.
Yeah.
So, as far as how exactly this order is going to affect things, we don't know yet. We do know that the president is looking for red meat and for the ability to put a lot of pressure on protesters with whom he disagrees.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. We also know, to your point, that speech is protected, and correct me if I'm wrong, but unless the speaker intends for violence to occur.
There is an exception to the First Amendment for what are called fighting words, which is if you say words that are likely to incite a riot. Now, the problem with that exception is it gives hecklers a veto. It means that if people don't like what you're saying, you're not supposed to say it. That runs contrary to the way that a lot of us think about freedom of speech. And the Supreme Court has not given us a whole lot of guidance on what exactly that exception means. Still, nevertheless, we can't have a system where just because you say something that other people might disagree with, that some snowflake out there might not be able to tolerate, that means that you can't say it. So I think that an order like this is just going to present another opportunity for us to figure out how strong our freedom of speech really is. And that's one of the reasons why I do think it's going to be important for the courts to defend the First Amendment and continue to protect our rights.
Yeah, it's no secret, Matt. This is truly a tough one, especially when you have those stating that flag burning is vile, but the government has no right to control speech and or expression, to which you say.
To which I say I completely agree. Generations upon generations of Americans have fought, have laid their lives on the line in order to protect these freedoms. Yes, our country is a nation. Yes, it is our homeland. But what makes America so great and such a glorious beacon in the world is its dedication to freedom, is the fact that unlike in Europe, where if you say something that offends somebody, you might be looking at prison time. If you even stand silently in prayer, England is trying to prosecute you right now. We don't do that. We're Americans. We believe that the answer to speech that's disagreeable, speech that's wrong, is more speech, not less. It's the ability to express our disagreements, even strong disagreements, with respect that keep this country together and that make this country free.
Yeah, to your point, Matt, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, we are all Americans and proud Americans at that. Mr. Matt Cabe, truly appreciate you joining us right here on the Live Zone.
Thank you very much for having me.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, more action taking place in the Gaza Strip. We'll break it all down for you next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair joined a White House meeting yesterday with President Trump to discuss plans for post-war Gaza. The White House meeting came after the Israeli military warned Palestinians that the evacuation of Gaza City was inevitable. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have conducted a series of strikes on former army barracks southwest of the Syrian capital of Damascus. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Harley Littman, foreign policy expert back here on the Live Zone. Harley, good to see you, sir, and welcome back to the show.
Good to see you as well, and thank you for having me back.
But of course, sir, let's start with the meeting at the White House yesterday, to which Tony Blair was a part of. A lot of folks surprised by this, and so I'll pose the question, why was he there and what came of this meeting?
Well, to start with, you said a lot of people are surprised. I can understand that because he hasn't been visible on the radar screen. He was a prime minister during the time of Bill Clinton and George Bush being president. But he's actually very active in the Middle East. He has a think tank and he meets with Middle Eastern leaders, and he's really a force to be reckoned with. So he's weighing in to try to see if he could break the logjam and see if he could propose something that will be a reasonable win, or at least satisfactory to all sides. And that's what he's trying to do. And he's a good man, he's very smart, and I wouldn't be surprised if the suggestions he has, which he says is aligned with President Trump's foreign policy, comes to fruition.
Yeah, yet again, it's going to be really interesting to see what unfolds as a result of that meeting taking place. We also know that the UN and non-governmental organizations have now warned that an Israeli offensive in Gaza City, where a famine was declared just last week, would have a, quote, horrific humanitarian impact. I'm curious, Harvey, your response to that.
Yeah, and I will respond to that. I want to get to your previous question first, where you mentioned Israeli forces were striking outside of Damascus. So what is that about? That's about Israel coming to the aid of a minority in Syria, the Druze, D-R-U-Z-E. A lot of people in the media think it sounds like Jews, but it's Druze. It's a sect that came out of Egypt. It's a Muslim sect. And the Jews live in Israel and live in Syria. And there's ethnic cleansing of the Druze in Syria by radical Islamists, by ISIS in particular. They're trying to exterminate the Druze, and they're killing everyone that they could get a hold of. The way they did the Yazidis in Iraq, for those of us who may remember America's involvement with Iraq and what happened. So Israel has come to their defense. Israel is fighting radical Islamists. These are jihadists who want to kill all minorities in Syria, Christians, Druze, Yazidis, and others.
But I'm curious, Harley, with you stating that, according to several reports, that move by Israel, in essence, violates the 1974 disengagement agreement with Syria. Is that correct?
Probably. But it's a whole different world from 1974, dramatically different. You have, at that time, the ruler was Assad. And we have a situation where Assad's son Bashar has been driven out of power. And he was a close ally of Iran. And this has changed the dynamics in the Middle East dramatically in the favor of Israel, the United States, and moderate Gulf nations, because Iran lost a powerful ally that was a conduit to Lebanon, where Hezbollah is headquartered, and Hezbollah has been humiliated recently. So yes, Israel may be technically violating it, but they're saving lives. The Druze community in Israel, it's a very loyal community. They serve in the Israeli army voluntarily, and they make up some of Israelis' best fighters in the elite commando units. Insofar as your previous question about horrific conditions in Gaza, it's no question this is a tragedy of monumental proportions. Poor Palestinians, poor Gazans are facing starvation and famine, and it's truly it should be unacceptable to everyone in the world. We should not be tolerating this.
Let's move on to a recent poll right here out of America, which states the majority of Americans now disapprove of U.S.-Israel military alliance. That new Quinnipiac survey finds 60% of respondents are against more support for Israel. the highest figure since the October 7th attacks. Your response to that, Harley?
That may be. If that's what the poll shows, I'll take it at face value. It is clearly disturbing. It really means that the message is not getting out as to Israel is simply trying to defend themselves. Remember, why do people say they shouldn't support Israel? The only thing I could think of is that they're upset with Israel's actions in Gaza. But again, people have to remember that Israel and the United States are really one and the same insofar as how we're viewed in the world. If Israel goes down, America's going to be next. This is what Iran says and radical jihadists say is Israel's the little Satan, America is the big Satan. Now, I understand they may not approve of all of Israel's actions. That's understandable. It's a tough war that Israel is in. Nearly half the population in Israel doesn't like Israel continuing its war in Gaza and wants Israel to leave. I understand all sides of this. However, I think Israel has no choice. And the best example I can give by that is giving an analogy for Americans. The equivalent for Israel would be for Al-Qaeda to be elected in Canada and Al-Qaeda to send in 44,000 jihadists across the border into the United States, where they murder over 30,000 Americans, rape women, set people in wheelchairs on fire and make their children watch, put babies in ovens. Then they're chased back across the border into Canada, these radical jihadists. Do you think America would ever accept Al-Qaeda staying in power in Canada? I think not. So why would Israel accept Hamas staying in power in Gaza?
We'll end it with this, Harley, and I ask it each and every time. What needs to be done in order for all of this to come to an end? And I suspect it has everything to do with the release of all the hostages.
Right. If the hostages are released, Israel will stop fighting. But even the Arab League said that Hamas should disarm and the hostages should be released. And that's very telling. It's all Arab nations, and this is what they say.
Yet again, we have been joined by Mr. Harley Lippman, foreign policy expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Harley, always good to see you, sir. I know you were busy. Thank you so much for taking time out.
Great to see you as well, and thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, by now you probably heard that Cracker Barrel will be going back to its old logo amid a public backlash to the restaurant and country store's recent logo change and redesign. Now, the logo in question featured an illustration of Uncle Herschel. You saw it right there on the left-hand side in favor of a simplified text-only logo. President Trump even weighed in, arguing the company should bring back the old logo to which they did. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is customer experience analyst Marbu Brown. I should make mention that Marbu is host of the podcast Be Customer Led, author of Blueprint for Customer Obsession, and CEO of the Customer Obsession Advantage. Marbu, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Well, it's great to be back with you, Guy. Thank you for having me.
But of course, I got to tell you, this has been some heck of a roller coaster ride. I didn't know, quite honestly, they were planning on changing it until, I guess, late last week. Then we saw the change, and then, as they say, remix, they brought it back. For those of us who are still trying to wrap our heads around all of this, do tell, how did all of this come to be?
Well, a situation like this, I mean, typically when, a company is doing something like this, they will do a lot of pre-testing ahead of time, get customer feedback. And I imagine that Cracker Barrel must have done something like this before they went live with this change. But I can't imagine that they didn't get some of the type of feedback that they got on social media ahead of time, because the type of feedback that customers gave on social media, that was bound to have come out. So, I wonder if they just kind of just went past the customer feedback they got, because there was about a 50%, it seems like almost, folks that were against this change. And this is only a win if it helps to make their tent bigger. And it really looks like what was happening, not only with the logo change, but with, some of the renovations that they're making in some of the restaurants. There's enough backlash against it that it seems like it was making their tent smaller.
Yeah.
So good decision to go back to the old logo, because they're still at the point where this was a two-way door instead of a one-way door. So good decision to make that move. I don't know what they're doing about those renovations, but they might want to rethink some of those as well.
Yeah, I think you got that one right there. I'll tell you this, it's so interesting, Marbu. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, and I'm curious if you have. One, because it is hard to, in essence, save face. I mean, it's hard for a company of that caliber to admit, hey, you know what, we messed up. I haven't seen that, and it's something new to me. But perhaps they were spurred on by not only, a lot of their everyday customers, but the president as well.
Well, let me tell you, years ago we had an even bigger one than this. I don't know if you remember Old Coke and New Coke.
Sure
right?
do. Yep.
Because so that was another scenario where a large company ended up with egg on their face. And, that backlash was so strong that they quickly came back with Coca-Cola Classic. And if you notice, New Coke just kind of slowly disappeared. So it's not around anymore. But they recognized that, something went wrong with that. And so I do applaud the Cracker Barrel leadership for recognizing that, hey, the logo part of this was definitely something that they needed to reverse. As the president called it, the ultimate pull was what the customers had to say about it, and that's right. But look, I think that if they're thinking along the lines of making their tent bigger, maybe they should take a cue from like Chili's, for example, who has been able to, come back roaring, right? And they have, found some ways to really leverage social media and, some innovation in their menus and stuff that has really brought in, some new customers.
Yeah.
And also taking their same-store sales right through the roof.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Chili's, that's with the baby back ribs, right?
Yep, that's with the baby back ribs.
Yeah.
But they got some new stuff. They got the cheese pull now, right? And that became viral on TikTok. And then they innovated on that, and started adding some new flavors in and everything like that, and that helped them. And to be quite frank, I mean, there are some fast casual restaurants that have done extremely well all through the challenges that the others have had. I mean, you've seen some go bankrupt and everything like that, but Chick-fil-A keeps plugging away. Texas Roadhouse keeps making waves. And there are some principles. My company actually did a study that's written up in FSR magazine, and it shows how that there are certain principles that these companies have used to help them really stay strong, stay relevant, and keep their revenue hopping.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to my understanding the cost in order to have this logo change, if you will, happened to be to the tune of some $700 million. Did I get that correct?
Well, let me tell you what it is. The 700 million isn't just the logo change, but it would be the whole rebranding exercise. And that rebranding exercise includes the renovations to the restaurants and all of those kinds of things. But let me tell you something. I think there's a stat that maybe about 83% of Cracker Barrel stores are near highway exits. And that's kind of been like almost like the mainstay of where their customers are coming from.
Sure.
I wonder if they took some of that 700 million and expanded more into communities where they're more accessible to their customers, right? If that would help to actually bring them back a bit, right? If they put a focus on the things that lend themselves to customer obsession, if you will, things like empowering their employees to do certain special things for their customers. Some of the kinds of things that companies like, Chick-fil-A pay attention to in their restaurants. So things like that, I think, might actually accomplish that objective of expanding their tent more than, hey, going after, changes in decor, because that doesn't seem to be what their customers are asking for.
Yeah.
The decor seems to be working for them, but people have been more concerned about declining, quality of the food or food price value, things like that, more so than, the decor of the restaurant.
I got to tell you, Marbu, if this CEO thing or podcast thing doesn't work out, they should definitely hire you. I mean, it sounds like you got all the right answers. We'll end with this, and that is, I actually happen to be a fan of Cracker Barrel. I am all things biscuits. I'm curious, you like them as well?
I like them as well.
All right. Any particular food item?
I call myself the syrup snob. And you go to Cracker Barrel and you get pure maple syrup. Some things that in some other restaurants you won't be able to find. And hey, I love that with my pancakes or my waffles. And they're good about stuff like that.
That they are, just like you. Yet again, we've been speaking with customer experience analyst Marbu Brown. He is the host of the podcast Be Customer Led, author of the Blueprint for Customer Obsession, and CEO of the Customer Obsession Advantage. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us on The Live Zone.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate the time.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you were taking a live look at the press room, if you will, inside of the White House, where in just about 20 minutes or so, we are expecting a press briefing to get underway. Obviously, a lot to be discussed. That horrific incident that took place in Minneapolis yesterday, where 2 children were killed, will obviously be discussed, as well as the federal surge. What does President Trump have to say after D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser seems to agree with the president that it is indeed working? We'll take you there live in just about 19 minutes or so, right here on the Live Zone. Well, it's no secret, thousands of people are stuck in cycles of, well, you already guessed it, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and codependency, and most don't even realize it. And for those who do, well, the advice they've been given is outdated, many would argue. Hence, enter my next guest. I'm referring to nurse practitioner Beatriz Victoria Albina. Who is she, you asked? Well, she coined the term emotional outsourcing to describe these deep-rooted habits that keep us feeling stuck. I've been there before. I should also say her forthcoming book, End Emotional Outsourcing, A Guide to Overcoming Codependent, Perfectionist, and People-Pleasing Habits. But don't let me tell it. She joins us to do just that. Beatrice, good to see you, and thank you so much for joining us right here on the Live Zone.
Thanks for having me.
I got to tell you, this was really interesting, but I sat here thinking about it, and I found myself in that position from time to time, and that is people-pleasing, the whole perfectionism thing, if you will. But you're here to say, you know what, there's a certain way we should handle it, and that way is?
Well, it's really about coming back into presence. When we spend our whole lives learning that love, safety, belonging in our families depends on compliance, it wires our nervous system to believe that everyone else's opinion about us and our lives matters more than our own. So of course we don't live embodied lives where we're present with and in ourselves. Coming back to presence is vital.
Yeah, you know what I love, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that you stated is that our response is a nervous system response. I absolutely love that, because if you really think about it, you're right, that's what we do.
Yeah, the nervous system does so much within our bodies that we're not even aware of. It controls our mood, our digestion, our energy, and the way we respond to procedural memory. If we learn as kids, being yourself, it's not a great choice. That memory will drive you to people please, to be a perfectionist, to be codependent with everyone in your life.
All right, so you say just meditate. Woo-saw. You say just take a deep breath. But that doesn't work for everybody.
Nope, it's lousy science when we tell people that. So when you're, it's just lousy science. When you're stressed, your body thinks you're running from lions. Now, Guy, tell me, if there was a lion chasing you, do you want to sit and take a deep breath? I mean,
I'm gone.
About it. I hope not, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So we should meet the body where it's at. If your body thinks it's running, give it movement. Go for a brisk walk and move both arms so you get bilateral activation in the brain. If you're frozen and checked out, slowly wiggle your fingers. Don't try to do a 30-minute meditation. That's cruelty.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm still stuck on that whole lion thing. You got me looking behind my shoulder now for that lion. Hey,
that's called orienting. It's one of the best things we can do when we're freaking out is orient our nervous system by simply looking around and let our nervous system know, and I say this out loud, there's no lions here.
Oof. Okay, I'm feeling better. It's working. It's working. Can you discuss the link between gut health and the nervous system? Because when I read this, it just threw me off. I'm trying to figure out how the two coincide.
Yeah, so the vagus nerve runs from the brain to the gut, and it plays a vital role in digestion. So when stress keeps the nervous system all worked up, thinking that we're in danger, the lions are coming, blood flow and motility to the gut decrease because your body's focused on survival, right? And not like, I don't know, digesting a cheeseburger, right? So of course you're gonna get bloated because stuff's sticking around. Of course you'll have reflux, IBS, digestive issues because food's not moving with the speed it's supposed to.
All right, so then we all deal with this thing known as stress. Oh, God, it's so common in my life. With that being said, we need to stop the stress spiral. How do we go about to do just that?
Yeah, so orient that nervous system, look around, find your feet, and take a moment to pause. I know we're all busy, but we need to come back into our bodies and into the present moment when our brain starts to run away from us. State what's happening. There's functional MRI studies to back this up. State it. I am experiencing stress. I am experiencing anger. I am experiencing versus I am. Because if you are stressed, I can't help you, Guy.
Yeah.
But if you're just experiencing it, there's a way out, right?
Yeah. No, you hit the nail right on the head with that one. And I got to ask this because I find myself doing what I'm about to pose all the time. And that is, why do we say yes when, oh, we really mean N-O?
Yes. Well, because saying yes becomes a survival reflex, not a conscious choice when we had to say yes as little kids or we wouldn't feel love. And so we need to relearn comfort with saying no with really small, banal, doesn't even matter, low stakes practices, like saying to the barista, you don't want extra milk, because we need to show the body, I can say no and the lions won't attack me. I'm not going to die from saying no. I'm still lovable.
Yeah, it's not the extra milk for me, it's extra sugar, and I know that's not healthy as well.
Ooh, that's a rough one. Yeah.
I got about a minute left, and I want you to tell our viewers all about End Emotional Outsourcing, a guide to overcoming codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing habits.
Yeah, it's a book that's all about taking the blame and the shame and the guilt out of living in those habits. It's really about understanding them as childhood survival and coming back into yourself to honor the way you got through life and the way you are now, so you can step into new habits of interdependence and more self-love.
I absolutely love this, and absolutely love you joining us as well. Yet again, we have been speaking with
Thank you for
Beatrice
having
Victoria Albina, kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Make it a great day. I can't wait to read the book. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. And though many kids have returned back to school, well, we still have a lot of kiddos that don't go back to school until after Labor Day, which means they're still celebrating all things summer and, yes, summer activities, which are fun for kids, but they also may come with injury risks. You see, thousands of children visit the emergency room every summer due to injuries, and each visit can be expensive for families. Securian Financial Vice President of Employee Benefit Solutions, Lydia Gillick, now joins us to discuss the little-known extra insurance options that could help protect every family financially. Oh, I am so here for this. She joins us right now on the Live Zone. Lydia, good to see you, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
But of course, I got to tell you, it felt weird at first talking about still being summer, but in essence, it really is.
It is. Yes, I went back to school after Labor Day back in the
You
day.
know what? So did I. But I guess these new kids, they go back way before that. However, I can tell you some counties in the surrounding area, they do not return until Tuesday. And so with that being said, we're still talking about summer activities, as you heard me make mention. But let's just be real. Accidents can happen at any time. But why are children more at risk during the summer months?
They're outside a bit more. So if you think about what they're doing outside, they're riding their bikes, they're on the playground, they're doing all of those outside activities that we remember from our childhood too. So there definitely is a bit more risk, and there's a little bit less supervision in the summer with children being out there outside and taking part in some of those activities.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me. I'm looking at the stats here. In the summer of 2023 alone, more than 200,000 children went to the emergency room due to injuries from activities like biking. I remember doing that. Fishing, perhaps maybe they got a hook somehow was involved. Camping and or grilling out.
Definitely things like that. And if you look at the stats around some of the sports activities, about 750,000 children are going to the hospital every year for sports-related activities. So really piling into those fall activities as well as you start to think about sports.
Yeah, it makes you think twice because we now know that the average cost for just the copay for an ER visit is more than $400. That's enough to make you say, wow.
Right, that can really derail a family's finances.
So we also know that health insurance covers a wide range of medical expenses, but not everything. And so I'm hoping you could provide our viewers with what they need to know about their health benefits.
Yes, so first of all, the first thing I want to say is the health insurance that you're provided, that you have through a major medical plan is the most important. But there are additional coverages that are available through your employer that are supplemental coverages. And specifically, an accident policy is something that is able to help in families, individuals with children, spouses themselves, cover some of those expenses associated with maybe a broken leg, a sprain, the need for x-rays, emergency room visits, and those sorts of concerns. So those accident coverages are available in many ways through your employer, but definitely in addition to your major medical coverage. And I cannot stress that enough. These come in addition to that major medical coverage.
Yeah, yet again, vital and important information. But how do we know if we actually have access to supplemental health insurance at the JOB?
It's definitely something for you to think about. Talk to your employer. Look at open enrollment materials. So if you can see coverage for, say, accident coverage, this is different from accidental death and dismemberment, which may be available through your life insurance. Accident coverage, hospital indemnity, and then critical illness coverage are frequently offered by employers. Look at your open enrollment materials, talk to your manager, talk to your benefits department, and they're going to be happy to talk to you about what those coverage options can be for you through the workplace. And it's a very affordable coverage, usually $4 or $5, $6 a month for some of these coverages, and really can help offset the cost of those deductibles, co-insurance, and other things that really can help derail somebody's finances if you don't have some backup protection there.
Yeah, it sounds like to me the key is to be proactive, something perhaps we should already focus on, especially at the workplace. We can end with this, and that is, what else do people really need to know about these policies?
Definitely things to think about are, in some instances, they can work together. So if you have an accident coverage policy and you also have a hospital indemnity policy, if you wind up being hospitalized because of that accident for that extra little bit of observation, you can have those policies work together and you can get benefits from both of those. All of the carriers that are out there really work to make sure that you're able to receive all of the appropriate benefits. So they'll look at different coverage options that you have under that, see what coverage you have, and make those benefit payments as appropriate. And the other thing is that these are limited benefit policies. So talk to your HR department, make sure you understand what is available to you and what those things cover, and go out and have fun.
Yeah, something we all love to do, especially during the summer months. Yet again, Securing and Financial Vice President of Employee Benefits Solutions, Lydia Jelek, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, comedian Earthquake, yes, DC's own, joins us next, right here on the Live Zone.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's time for our Thursday Talkers with our celebrity guests. Ladies and gentlemen, he needs no introduction. He's the man with the master plan. He is downright funny. You look at the dictionary, you will see his face. We're talking about DC's own Earthquake right here
How
on
you
the
doing,
Live Zone.
brother?
Good to
I
see
love
you,
that
man.
introduction, man. That's beautiful. I'm about to pay you for that. That was so good. Where I owe you? Let me swipe this card that I just stole. Put it on that credit card. Might be disputed later on, but you'll get the money today.
I told you he's funny. You have been doing amazing things, my brother. The last
you.
time I saw you, we were sitting in the same row at the MGM right here in National Harbor, right after, a day or two after you performed.
Right.
And we're watching Jodeci.
Yes, we did. and they gave us one Joe. It wasn't no C, because we only seen them. We blinked and they was gone. We're like, what? I know they had more than one hit. What the? Joe left. I said, Joe, what's wrong? Joe, we didn't see C or nobody. It was terrible. KC, nobody.
Oh, gosh. For the record, it was a good show, but you're right.
It was good. It was just short.
Well, I can tell you one thing that's not short, and that is your Netflix special. Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you.
Long time, well-deserved, man.
Yes, this is following up on the hit one, voted by Time Magazine the funniest special for that year. And we did another one, and it's called In Joke Telling Business, because that's what I am. I'm in joke telling business. It airs on September the 30th. We're putting together another set, which you'll see us do this weekend at the MGM at the Harbor. Show on Friday and Saturday. And also, more than anything, I'll be a proud part of this family, FOX, with my own TV show based out of Washington, D.C.
What?
Yes, the show will be about me moving back home from Hollywood and coming back home, and it's called Steel Quake.
Oh,
and,
man,
you'll
that
see
is
me
awesome.
on the upcoming season, 2026, with my own sitcom, and I'm very happy about that. Produced by Bill Burr Production.
Yeah.
And we're getting it done.
Man, that is so awesome. To think that you're bringing it home, to let DC shine unlike any other, man. What does that mean to you?
I try to represent DC all I can, because everybody, I've been around the world, and I'm not just saying this, but there's no place like DC. And so I just feel, it's my obligation to tell what's going on in my city, Washington, D.C., and how great we are. I mean, the integrity of our people, the environment is. I put the way we was raised up against any community in the world. It builds you for this. We have integrity, and I just, it's stories that needs to be told, from our own genre of music of go-go, all the way up to our the type of food that we eat, that we have our delicacy of our mumbo sauce, so, and our crabs. That's when you got money. You like a person, you buy a bushel of crab and let them eat it. Certain things that has to be told from it all, and the love of our team, JD5, baby Jesus. You know what I mean? So we back, and so I just have to do it. And when they came to me and said that they wanted me to be on Fox, and I just said I wanted to make sure that I represent where I came from.
Man, that is just so awesome. Speaking of awesome, you are known for really introducing new comedians, meaning giving them a platform to let them shine as well. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I love this genre of comics and comedians, and especially as a black comedian, you have to provide that opportunity, which the thing that you were striving to get yourself, me personally, I think it's selfish for you to get through the door and forget where you came from. So even my TV show is going to be based around me being a comedian, owning my own comedy club, to give other comics shot on that.
Yeah.
So I have always did my radio show, which is #1 on Sirius XM, is Quake House, and it brings comedians sitting there and talk about it on Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud. So I own my own comedy club to give comedians a platform to do it. I just think you always have to give back and do your part.
We just made mention of the new comedians, and I read an article where it stated that early on, at least in Atlanta, when you would try to perform, those doors were closed. It was hard for you to get on stage.
Yes.
Fast forward to now,
Yeah.
Brother, you just did a Netflix special.
Yes.
In Atlanta. What does that mean to you to know that the times have changed?
Well, and then I used that check to get this ring I got because I just got married, so I had to go ahead and pay for it. And I said, let's go and get this done right now when I seen that bill because weddings are expensive.
Yes, they are.
I should have went on and just hijacked you. But anyway, yes, it's a beautiful thing. Atlanta is the birthplace of my career. And I did my first Netflix fix in Washington, D.C., because this is where I'm from, but the birthplace of my talent, where I say doing comedy, was Atlanta, and it was moving. It was great, and I can't wait for it to come out. Shout out to Stan Lathan.
Yeah.
One of the greatest ever to do it. He produced it, Dave Chappelle, and the rest of us.
We're going to end with this. Yet again, we call this our Thursday Talkers. In essence, it's all about you. But I want to touch on just one topic that folks at home are talking about. In this case, it happens to be money transparency becomes new dating must-have. Now, according to a newly released study with Gen Zers and millennials, they say it's attractive when dates right off from the jump, Earthquake, talk about money, meaning how much money I make. As a result, you are most likely to then want to date that person, not because of how much is in the bank account, hint, hint, but because of, well, they've been fully transparent. What say you about that?
Well, I think you should tell a woman how much you make, because the worst thing you want to do is marry a woman you can't afford. You don't meet up to her expectations. Right. That's the quickest thing to infidelity. A woman who's struggling that didn't think she was going to struggle. You ain't meeting up to her expectation of the man she wanted to be with. She like, I don't, because black women let you know, I don't know how long I can put up with this. I ain't had to put up this when I was with her. Boy, Earl used to do this and that. And you sitting out here, yeah, you want to make sure you meet up to her expectation, and I think you should. And go ahead and put your credit score up there. Tell her your aspirations. And let her know right there, I can't afford you. We're going to go ahead and eat these wings with the mumbo sauce and hope you bless me, but go on find that man that you deserve. Who am I to block your blessing? I can't afford this.
Oh, gosh.
You're a Rolls Royce. I'm an Altima. I'm looking for a woman that's happy to be in the Altima. I still start my car with a key. You looking for the one that push a button. No, let's get on out of here. Yes.
Ladies and
Tell
gentlemen,
him first day.
His name is Earthquake.
Let him know.
With the brand new special, oh my gosh, on Netflix. Of course, your own show right here on Fox, man. Congratulations. Always good to see you, my brother. Thank you so much for representing D.C. the way you do.
And as soon as the show drop, I promise you I'm going to come on back on the show, man, and
man.
let you know. When we do the press junket, I will do your show to promote it right here on Fox 5.
I appreciate you, best. My man.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Earthquake. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Look who's here. Producer Chris with, well, all things Do You Like It or Not tonight, 7:30 right here on the Fox Local app.
This is what I'm calling my bus station app. And what I love about this is it spells out the mission of this show so clearly. If you want to be on TV, if you want to be the next Guy Lambert, if you want to be right here on Fox 5, there's only one thing you need to do, and that is watch this show. Join the Lion Zoom Room.
Love
Do
it.
you like it or not? Weeknights, 7:30 p.m. on Fox Local and YouTube. And that is your golden ticket, literally, that piece of paper, golden ticket to maybe someday being right here on Fox 5. We've already had one. One
I
person
remember,
from our Lion Zoom Room, and I'm making plans for the next one. And they already know. They know who they are, so
no doubt.
You'll see it soon.
It's a lot of fun, guys. I really encourage you to take part. So those that are watching now, just set your alarm, 7:30, and then you could actually be on the show instead of just watching us. It's a lot better.
That's right. You can make it a two-screen experience. If you're watching on your connected TV, just have your phone nearby. If you're watching on your phone, I post the Lion Zoom Room link on my Instagram story every single night. So all you got to do is go there, one click, you're in, and then get your hot takes ready.
All right. Speaking of hot takes, what are we talking about tonight?
Yeah, we're talking about the Commanders. I don't know if you know, but Chad Ricardo just launched the first episode of NFC Beast. It's right here on Fox Local. It's available on demand. And one of the things about that show that's unique is, if you don't know, all of the NFC East teams, Philly, New York, and Dallas, and the Commanders, were all Fox stations. We're all part of the same station group. So this is a chance for them to talk a little X's and O's and inside business.
That.
It's great, right? And listen, you know I'm a Philly fan.
Yeah.
I know you're a Commanders
All
fan.
the way.
If you're going to go to that stadium experience, you get what you pay for. Let's just say that. BetMGM is out with a new list of the highest priced beer. And guess who took that #1 spot?
I see it.
The Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
$16.49 for the average beer. The Philadelphia Eagles, reigning Super Bowl champions for the record, just about 2.5 hours up I-95 at Lincoln Financial Field, just $11.25, so about $5 less, 5.25 less. Even less than that, the Dallas Cowboys, sitting the lowest in the NFC, at $9.71. The New York Giants, I mean, it's New York, even though technically they play in Jersey, let's be serious here, sitting right around the $13. If you want the cheapest beer in the NFL, you got to head over to Ohio.
Wow.
$7.15 in Cleveland, $6.80 in Cincinnati. Now, the caption on this post said, you got to pay for that new stadium. That's why you're getting charged all that money for a drink. Or maybe you're paying off Terry McLaurin's salary.
So I'm a part of a group chat with my guys, Rudy, Noak, Kendall, and I sent this. I sent that screenshot to them yesterday. I said, "Look, when you're the best team in the NFL, you're going to pay the highest prices." I ticked them off. I absolutely love this, and I can't believe I'm saying that, loving that I have to pay for something more. But it is what it is.
Why is everything so expensive, though,
that
at
is
the
true.
Commander Stadium? It's not like you are getting a VIP experience necessarily.
I
when
agree.
You go out to Northwest Stadium because you're paying the same price for that drink, whether you're sitting on the 50-yard line or you're sitting up in the nosebleeds. So that's where I would be. I would be up in those nosebleeds. Guy Lambert would be down on the field, probably rubbing elbows with the players. But we're both paying $16.50 for a drink, and oh man, that's tough to swallow. I'm gonna do it, but it's tough to swallow.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. That's right.
Yet again, one of the many topics you'll address tonight at 7:30.
That is correct.
If you haven't already done so, download the Fox Local app so you
Putting
can check
together
it out.
my rundown right now. And I've got some other good ones that I'm excited about.
I'm excited to see it.
Khadijah Corey's going to join me live in studio tonight. You know her from Lit. I'm sorry, I don't remember the numbers, but Lit radio host. She's going to join us live in studio tonight as well.
Awesome. All right, check it out. 7:30 tonight, guys, right here on the Fox Local app. Truly appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're just minutes away from the White House press briefing. That should be happening. As a matter of fact, it's happening right now. We'll take you there live. Here's Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Good afternoon. Good to see all of you. I want to begin today's briefing by addressing the horrific shooting that took place yesterday at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. where a deranged shooter opened fire during morning mass, killing an innocent 8-year-old and 10-year-old. 14 other children and 3 adults were also injured during this horrible tragedy. This was the first morning mass of the school year for these beautiful, innocent children, and this sacred religious service was desecrated by an evil monster. We are all eternally grateful to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders whose courage and swift response aided all of those impacted by this horrible tragedy. As Director Kash Patel confirmed yesterday, the FBI is currently investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday following his call with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-mast. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join all of us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. The White House and the FBI will continue to provide further updates as they become available. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for you today. The President will travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, September 23rd. On another matter, as Americans make their Labor Day weekend travel plans, they will be able to enjoy 5-year low gas prices thanks to President Trump fully unleashing American energy dominance. President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable again. These savings at the pump are giving everyday American families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always. For decades, the hardworking men and women of our country who built the greatest nation in world history were sold out by selfish, greedy, short-sighted globalists who put our country on a path to economic and cultural ruin. They hollowed out our factories and towns and betrayed the American working class by shipping jobs overseas and importing millions of low-wage migrants to replace American workers. Under President Trump, this national disgrace is over. American workers are, once again, being put at the center of national trade policy, and the dignity of American labor is being defended. As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill them. In fact, since President Trump took office, the economy has added more than 500,000 new jobs to the workforce. In a stark reversal from the Biden administration, all of that job creation has been driven by private sector growth, and all employment gains have gone to native-born Americans. Wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in the past 60 years. And the average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year alone. Thanks to the largest middle tax cuts ever signed into law by President Trump, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, Americans in all 50 states will keep more of their hard-earned money. The average American taxpayer will see a tax cut of nearly $4,000 because of these pro-growth provisions, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. In other news, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to restore law and order to our nation's capital. Since President Trump's intervention, there have been more than 1,283 arrests right here in the District of Columbia. Total crime in D.C. is down 19%, and violent crime is down 30%. Carjackings in the district are down 67%. Homicides are down 57%. Robberies are down 40%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 32%. And assaults with dangerous weapons are down 23%. And property crime is down 18%. These numbers prove the president's bold actions to make D.C. safe and beautiful again are working, just like he said they would. And that's why on Monday, the president took additional action to sign an executive order taking steps to ensure that cashless bail in Washington, D.C. is eliminated. For too long, DC's reckless cashless bail policies have allowed dangerous criminals to be quickly released, which endangers everyone who lives in and visits our wonderful capital. No cash bail has also foolishly forced law enforcement to repeatedly arrest the same offenders over and over again, only for them to be released back into our nation's capital. This is the definition of insanity, and the president is seeking to end it. He also signed a separate executive order addressing the crime emergency in D.C. by instructing the National Park Service to hire additional United States Park Police officers to support public safety, and directing the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. to hire additional prosecutors to focus solely on violent and property crimes. So while liberal Democrats across the country continue to double down on their failed soft on crime approach, the American people, including local D.C. leadership, business owners, and residents, are rallying behind President Trump's crime crackdown. According to new polling, 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country. And a clear majority of Americans believe the president's actions are justified and necessary to reduce crime in these cities. Indu Bhatia, who runs a liquor store a half mile from the White House here just down the street, is one of those Americans who are grateful for President Trump's public safety push. Indu recently told the New York Post that her store was robbed so many times that they had to spend exorbitant sums of money on security, jeopardizing her family's financial future. But thanks to President Trump's strong action, Indu said, quote, "All of my employees, including me, we feel much safer, and even our customers feel really happy when they walk into our store." And just yesterday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump for surging federal law enforcement personnel and said neighborhoods, quote, "feel and are much safer." We thank Mayor Bowser for her cooperation and her willingness to help us make D.C. safe and beautiful. This entire effort has vindicated what President Trump and law and order advocates have been saying for years, and this is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice. You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades. The President Trump approach of upholding law and order by letting our brave men and women in blue actually do their jobs to aggressively fight crime works. In just a few weeks, President Trump has done more for D.C. residents than Democrats did in 50 years. And this can be replicated in other crime-ridden cities across the nation. As President Trump has said, all of these elected officials in charge have to do is pick up the phone and ask for the president and the federal government's help. President Trump doesn't care if they are a Republican or a Democrat leader. He wants Americans to be safe and for every law-abiding American citizen across the country to be able to thrive in their city and in their community. With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making the sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump and the White House going to do to address mental health issues around the country associated with these shootings? And the second thing is Chicago. You know, anybody with, and I say, with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now, the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances, and so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again, and I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will. Gabe, and thanks for being here, Brandon. Gabe.
Carolyn, thank you so much. First on the firing of the CDC director. First,
sure.
Who will replace her? And then also, overnight the White House said that she did not align with the president's agenda. Dr. Menard's attorneys say that she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do wrong?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't, so the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. A new replacement will be announced by either the president or the secretary very soon. And the president and Secretary Kennedy are committed to restoring trust and transparency and credibility to the CDC by ensuring their leadership and their decisions are more public-facing, more accountable, strengthening our public health system, and restoring it to its core mission of protecting Americans from communicable diseases, investing in innovation to prevent, detect, and respond to future threats. That's the mission of the CDC, and we're going to make sure that folks that are in positions of leadership there are aligned with that mission.
And briefly on another topic, alligator Alcatraz. Last week, a judge on an environmental concerns lawsuit said that the administration had 60 days to wind down operations there, state officials did. Now, the administration has not been shy in fighting back against what it calls activist judges, but why is it backing down this time?
We're not backing down. We've always said that we are going to continue to fight in the court of law for what's right, because we know that what this administration is doing with respect to all policy, but also immigration policy, is above the books, and we're abiding by our nation's immigration laws. And we think it's despicable that an activist judge has inserted themselves in this migrant detention facility to the point where DHS is now having to relocate these illegal immigrants to other detention facilities around the country. That is an unnecessary burden on the Department of Homeland Security and these agents who should be removing these criminals from our community. That's what the American people elected this president to do. So we've always maintained, Gabe, we're going to comply with court orders, but we're also going to fight back on them on the merits of the law. And DHS is in compliance while we disagree with this decision, and we'll continue to fight it in court. Let's go to...
Hey,
go ahead.
Thanks so much. So just following up on the CDC firing,
sure.
Are you anticipating other changes there at CDC in addition to that firing? And is the administration going through in a very sort of organized fashion? Is there a task force that's going through high-level appointees to see who is or isn't aligned with the mission? Like, should we expect more changes?
Not to my knowledge. I understand there were a few other individuals who resigned after the firing of Ms. Monarez. One of those individuals wrote in his departure statement that He identifies pregnant women as pregnant people. So that's not someone who we want in this administration anyway. So if people are not aligned with the president's vision and the secretary's vision to make our country healthy again, then we will gladly show them the door.
Caroline, can I just
go to the back?
Thank you, Caroline.
Go behind you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. The military deployment that President Trump has sent to the Caribbean Sea close to the shores with Venezuela is massive. It's much more that is needed to simply counter narcotics operations. Is President Trump considering launching military strikes to military installments or facilities in Venezuelan soil?
I won't get ahead of the president with respect to any military action or questions about that ever. But what I will tell you is that many Caribbean nations and many nations in the region have applauded the administration's counter-drug operations and efforts, and the president is prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. And as I've said from this podium before, the Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. Maduro is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this drug cartel. He has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into our country, and it is the utmost responsibility of this president and this administration to prevent the illicit flow of drugs into our country and to protect citizens from those deadly poisons. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
My second question for you is that there have been media outlets who have glazed over the fact that the shooter was confused in their gender identity. Does the administration believe that this element needs to be investigated in the shooting?
All of the elements are being investigated in the shooting, absolutely. Which is why part of the reason the FBI director came out and immediately confirmed that facet of the investigation. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions on two separate issues. First of all, the drone and missile strikes that took place overnight in Ukraine. General Keith Kellogg, the president's special envoy, has described these attacks as egregious. Do you agree with that description, and do you view President Putin as an impediment to getting peace between these two countries?
Well, it's not about if I agree, it's about what the president thinks, and I know what the president thinks because I talked to him about this. He was not happy about this news, but he was also not surprised. These are two countries that have been at war for a very long time. Russia launched this attack on Kyiv, and likewise, Ukraine recently dealt a blow to Russia's oil refineries. They have taken out, as a matter of fact, 20% of Russia's oil refinery capacity over the course of their attacks throughout the month of August. So the president is continuing to watch this intently, and this killing, unfortunately, will continue as long as the war continues, which is why the president wants it to end. And that's why he's worked harder than anyone to end this war, which would have never started if he were president, but perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves. The president wants it to end, but the leaders of these two countries need it to end and want it to end, must want it to end as well. And I think the president will make some additional statements on this later.
My second question has to do with,
Carrie,
I just had one more, if I may. It has to do with the president's intention to remove Lisa Cook as a member of the Federal Reserve Board. He is going or acting upon allegations that have been made by Trump administration official Bill Pulte. These are just allegations. She hasn't been convicted yet of any crime. Is the administration opposed to allowing Ms. Cook to have due process, to challenge what has been alleged against her?
I believe she is challenging it. I believe she just filed a lawsuit today, and Mr. Pulte has deferred those allegations over to the Department of Justice to investigate them. What I will say is that you had these mortgage receipts very clearly shown to the president, and he has the cause that he needs to fire this individual. He laid it out in the letter that he provided to her and to the public as well. And so we'll continue to fight this battle. Carrie.
Hi, Caroline. So the president just announced that he wants to have a convention right before the midterms next year. The DNC has countered that they too want to have a convention right before the midterms as well. What's the White House's response to that? And can you give us just a little bit of a hint or a tease here as to how the president envisions a convention for the midterms?
Look, the president put out a statement on this earlier today. I'll let him speak further on the plans that he envisions, but I think he's very proud of the accomplishments and the achievements of his administration, as he should be. The most secure border in United States history, a crackdown on crime here in our nation's capital, an attack or a reversal of the attack on our energy industry from the previous administration. As I just pointed out to you, gas prices today, this Labor Day, are the lowest they've been since Labor Day in 2020. Our economy is bringing in trillions of dollars in revenue from all over the world again. So there's so much for Republicans and for the president and for Americans across the country to be proud of, and I think the president wants to see that celebrated. But for any further details on this as they come, we'll provide you with them. Iris.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions on the shooting. What's the administration's message to some concerned parents across the country who might be now worried about their kids' safety in light of the latest incident?
We completely and totally understand the concerns of parents across the country. This tragedy it's heartbreaking. As a parent myself, there are no words to describe just the heartbreak that these families must be enduring, which is why the president and the first lady have encouraged everyone to continue to pray for these families and these victims. And it's why this administration is focused on removing public safety threats from our communities. And in fact, I can share with all of you that last night in Washington, D.C., when arrests were being made, there was an arrest of a juvenile right here in D.C. in Ward 7 for threats to kidnap and injure, receiving stolen property, possession of a large capacity feeding device, unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. A search warrant was executed, 7 firearms were recovered, and the juvenile was arrested after an investigation was initiated based on social media posts allegedly threatening violence towards a school. So this was a juvenile who was a risk to not just himself, but the community here in Washington, and he was removed from the community last night because of the law enforcement efforts of this administration. And I would also point to the statement of our wonderful First Lady that she released yesterday. She wrote, "The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. We encourage all Americans, as the old saying goes, if you see something, say something. If you see warning signs or threats, report it to law enforcement." This administration, federal law enforcement, will take those reports and those threats seriously. They will be treated as a law enforcement emergency, and we will act accordingly.
And on the First Lady's statement, would the administration consider ramping up resources on these fronts to parents and schools across the country to help them look into these signs and prevent more tragedies?
It's a very fair question, Iris. As for any potential future policy decisions or funding questions, it's just been over 24 hours since this tragedy occurred. Right now we're focused on the FBI and their investigation and uncovering all the facts, and we'll leave those very important policy discussions to another day.
Thank you, Caroline.
Go ahead. Megan.
I had a question about the Lisa Cook lawsuit that you mentioned. Sure. Does the president plan to wait until that lawsuit is resolved to appoint her replacement?
I will leave that to the president to make that decision in that announcement himself. Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. Bouncing off the CDC, situation with CDC, I'm curious if administration officials are pushing back on the president's agenda, privately, publicly, however, should they fear to lose their jobs going forward?
Look, I think if you're doing your job well, and if you are executing on the vision and the promises that the president made to the public who elected him back to this office, then you should have no fear about your job. Just do your job. That's what this president wants to see. He wants to see people solving problems. He wants to see the people who have the privilege of serving the American taxpayer and the federal government abiding by the wishes of the American taxpayers who overwhelmingly reelected him in this cabinet to make America great again, or in this case, make America healthy again.
On the Intel deal, where the U.S. got a stake in that company, there's two things I want to ask about that. The first is, what did the U.S. get back in return for that deal? And the second thing is, what are the future plans for giving any form of money to another company? It could be through the CHIPS Act, like this deal, or some other form of funds. What are the plans there by this White House administration?
Well, look, as you know, Brian, very well, because you cover it often, the Intel deal is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce. The T's are still being crossed, the I's are still being dotted. It's very much still under discussion. But the president's thinking, I can share with you, is certainly to ensure that the United States government is making our country wealthy again and is benefiting from some of these deals. And it's a creative solution. I know it's outside the box thinking, which is uncommon in this city, but it's something that he proposed and something that the Secretary of Commerce is working on putting into action. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a couple questions on the shooting yesterday. The first one, this is the second shooting involving a trans-identifying shooter who specifically targeted Christians and Catholic kids. What kind of consequences do the gender-affirming therapists, doctors, or even the parents of these shooters face after these types of shootings?
Well, as for the parents and potential therapists in this case, again, all of that is still currently being investigated by the FBI. I know the Secretary of Health and Human Services this morning said that HHS is investigating perhaps links between some of these drugs and these prescription drugs that some of these minors may be taking and an increase in violence. And obviously we have mental health problems in this country that this administration and Secretary Kennedy will continue to speak out about in the work that we're doing to solve it.
Thank you. And just to follow up, I've seen a lot of calls for action, among these lawmakers saying that we shouldn't just be praying. One that I've seen on the right actually is calls for the FBI to institute a new class of domestic terrorism that involves trans ideology. Is that something that the administration would support?
I would have to check with the appropriate people on that.
Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. We saw some new revised economic data come out today showing the U.S. economy grew at a 3.3% clip, largely buoyed by a surge in capex. What's the White House reaction to this, and is this sort of the president's vision beginning to come to life after the Big Beautiful Bill was passed in July?
Yes, I mean, look, we did say that once the Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law, we're going to see the effects of this massive pro-growth piece of legislation. As I laid out for you as we head into the Labor Day weekend, there's many positive economic indicators that the American people can be hopeful about. But don't forget, we are reversing 4 years of reckless spending from the previous administration, of slamming regulations down the throats of American business owners and consumers across the country. But the administration is working very hard to unravel all of that and to ensure that small business owners and workers are thriving and that they have more money in their own pockets to spend. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Back on the CDC, there was reporting that some of the initial problems between RFK and the CDC director stemmed from miscommunications or differences on vaccine policy. So I wonder if you could just say whether or not the president believes that the COVID vaccine should be available to and covered by insurance for all Americans, regardless of age and pre-existing conditions.
What I will tell you is that the FDA recently revoked the emergency use authorizations for 3 COVID vaccinations while simultaneously greenlighting 4 new COVID-19 vaccines with 2025 and 2026 formulas. The reason for the revocation of that emergency use authorization is because obviously the COVID pandemic and the public health emergency is over. But just to correct the record, because there's been a lot of misinformation on this, the FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice. That's a promise both the president and the secretary have made, and it's a promise they have now delivered on.
Question, if I could, Caroline. Second question, if I could. Sorry. I wonder if you could answer why the president hasn't acknowledged the shooting at CDC headquarters that took place earlier in August, where a police officer was killed, and it was reported that the motivation for the shooting was somebody who was really unhappy with the effects of the COVID vaccine.
We absolutely were very much aware of that shooting. The Secretary of Health and Human Services put out a statement immediately. He was in touch with the CDC, and he actually traveled to Georgia to assess the situation and to mourn with the people who work in that building there. So, go ahead.
With respect to Labor Day, one of the most underrepresented groups right now are police officers. 30,000 police officers short in America right now. To Brandon's question, 1,300 short in Chicago, 3,000 short in New York, 500 short here in Washington, D.C. What can the White House, what can the President do to help recruitment of police officers? You've done well with the military and Border Patrol. What can be done to get more police officers on the streets of America?
Well, the president has certainly been very successful in recruiting federal law enforcement. If you look at the ICE recruitment campaign that was led by he and our Secretary of Homeland Security, we've seen more than, I believe, 130,000 applicants to join ICE, which is just amazing. There's more applicants now than there are jobs to fill, and we're very grateful for that. Clearly, Americans want to serve their communities. They just need a leader who encourages them to do so. So maybe Governor Pritzker should spend less time demonizing the police, more time trying to recruit more police, and more time trying to call the President of the United States to get crime in his city under control. The President wants to allow law enforcement, whether it's state, local, federal, to do their jobs, to arrest criminals, to put them behind bars, and to remove public safety threats from American communities. He'll continue to do that. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you have it. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressing a number of topics. First of all, issuing condolences to the families that lost loved ones during that horrendous shooting that took place in Minneapolis yesterday. The press secretary also touching on the federal surge that's happening right here in the nation's capital, stating that it is, in so many words, working, and that even D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump with stating that it is working and crime has been reduced. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, this afternoon, hearts remain heavy following that shooting yesterday that took place in Minneapolis. 2 children killed, 17 others seriously injured. The gunman then taking his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This afternoon, a prayer service of peace and healing now being held at the Cathedral of St. Paul in St. Paul, Minnesota. Let's take a look in.
Turn to our Lord, to go to Jesus.
ISRAEL-HAMAS. No, that's her school. That's our
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, that's our music group.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, so they practice twice a week, or once a week. Once a week they practice.
All right, yet again, you have been listening and watching a prayer service for the Minneapolis school shooting. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, just about 8 minutes away from the take. But first, how about we celebrate all things with regard to the kiddos? Earlier today, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser joined district leaders, students, families, and educators to cut the ribbon on the $82.9 million upgrade of Truesdale Elementary School. That's in Ward 4. She also celebrated the first day of pre-K for early learners across the district.
We are so lucky to have adults that care about us so much and making sure we have the tools we need to succeed, including bright, beautiful classrooms and places to play. I want to welcome our city's leading adult, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Give Elias a big round of applause. And welcome Truesdale Trojans. Principal Foster, I want to thank you, and I want to acknowledge all the Truesdale teachers, staff, and families. Give them a big round of applause. And welcome back to school to our littlest learners all across the district who started pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 today. I also want to acknowledge our public education team, starting with the Chancellor of DCPS, Chancellor Louis Farabee. Give Dr. Farabee a big round of applause. The Deputy Mayor for Education, Deputy Mayor Paul Kine. The Superintendent for Education, Dr. Antoinette Mitchell. And our honorary public education team member, because he is the director of DGS, our real estate and construction team, Delano Hunter, from the Department of General Services. I also want to recognize the Ward 4 council member, Councilmember Louis George, who has followed this project with us very closely, as well as at-large council member Christina Henderson, who you'll hear from. So let me just say something about this wonderful school. I have had the pleasure and privilege of representing Truesdale Elementary since 2007. What year were you guys born? Probably after that, right? So long before you thought about coming to Truesdale, we've been thinking about how we could transform this school, not just the building, but the investments in teachers and programs, so that Truesdale would really live up to its potential as an incredible neighborhood school that was a part of a great neighborhood feeder program right here in Ward 4. My vision then was that all of the schools in Ward 4, who the parents and families told us, you know, it just needs this, Mayor or Council Member, or it just needs this, or it just needs that we would work budget to budget, year to year, to make sure that we put all those we just need into place. And that is what is coming together here at Truesdale. This is an $83 million renovation, so let's hear it for DC taxpayers. We are very proud to have the best and most robust free pre-K program, we think, in the nation. So free preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds all across Washington, D.C. It has been a huge draw for families. We know that families are grappling with a lot of expenses, from child care costs to increasing grocery costs to increasing utility costs. Everything just costs more. And so when your 3-year-old can go to a real school in a real school building with real school teachers with a vetted and tested and outstanding program, we know that the value of living in DC just increases dramatically. It is a developmentally appropriate school. Kids are learning math and literacy skills, and they are entering kindergarten ready to go. So let me just give out a huge, huge shout out to all of our pre-K teachers and aides for loving, teaching, and challenging our little ones. Teaching them how to be in school, how to share, how to make friends, how to learn, and just how to be little great kids. And that's why the latest data shows that 95% of our city's 4-year-olds are enrolled in pre-K, and 82% of our 3-year-olds are enrolled in free pre-K 3. And when they come to school, they will find that they're coming into beautiful, child-friendly facilities like this one. Truesdale is our latest DC public school to add a child development center, which means that some families will join this school community with their infants, and they'll be able to go all the way to the 5th grade. And that sense of community is what so many of our friends and families love. So I just want to say congratulations to all of those who have been involved in bringing Truesdale together for this renovation.
Yet again, hip hip hooray going out to Truesdale Elementary School, now undergoing a $83 million renovation. Of course, that's DC Mayor Muriel Bowser with all things congratulations earlier today. All right, well, folks, that just about does it for us. On behalf of my producer, Emmy, I'm Guy Lambert. If you haven't already done so, you see it right there on your TV screen. Yes, the QR code. Click on that, download the Fox local app. That way you can take us in. Guess what? Take what's coming up next with you any and everywhere you go.